from an individual whose account, who has a fund.
So they also run this Adirondack Gives. So they have a lot of different ways they bring in money.
Right.
They do services. One of them is the Adirondack Gives website. And that Adirondack Gives website is the way that different groups can raise money. And that's where that's from.
Okay, so the amount is from an individual then, that went through the foundation?
No. No, the amount is from a number of smaller donors, $10, $50, $25. I don't know who and I don't know how, because that's whoever sets up the web portal for that campaign has that information. I've set those up before, so I do see them when they come in, but I didn't set this one up.
So this one was
Set up by the
then the
elementary
portal was set up with the elementary.
So playground committee, yeah. Mhm.
I'll second.
Thanks, Rick. We're going to vote electronically, can we?
You
vote?
bet.
I'm not getting anything.
Do we vote down where we do action items, or are we doing the action items?
No, we're doing the.
Oh, the vote for the consent. Got
agenda,
it.
Right,
All right.
but nothing's coming up for me, Karen.
How would you like me to vote for you?
I would vote
You
yes.
can vote for me
Oh,
too,
they
but
didn't come
nothing's
up for
coming
me.
I mean, I'm not even
Oh,
getting
here
a place
comes,
to put
no,
it.
take them up.
I got nothing.
Is that yes, yes?
Yes,
Sure.
Patty is, sure.
I'm a yes.
Okay,
Do
vote.
you want me to say yes or vote?
I know, I voted for you.
Okay,
Okay,
You're all good.
so the motion carries 5-4-0 against with 2 absent.
too many options.
Boy, that was interesting, huh? Okay.
Sorry.
Good thing it was a whole bunch of different things. to vote on.
Well, but
Imagine.
that'll save time at the end, so
Sure.
this will be good. All right, so we can skip for the good of the cause unless any board member has for the good of the cause. At which point we'll go to the treasurer's report. So are there any questions on the treasurer's report? No. No, so we'll move on then to the superintendent's report.
I feel like we should just sort of vote past that one too, but I guess we're not going to vote. Okay. Because mine's gonna be, pretty long. So I do have some things to share with you tonight, and I thought what I would share with you are results from our grade 3 through 8 state exam scores, some highlights of our student transfers, comings and goings. I want to talk about our new teachers a little bit and new teachers in general, and then just some up and coming events as we enter the first week of school. So I posted for you a document in the public content. There's actually a public and a private document. The private document is because we have student names in there. But in the public document, it starts on page 1 with the 2017 grade 3 through 8 exam scores. So the scores from the March and May exams, March being ELA, May being math, were made available in late August, just a couple of weeks ago. And it's been, news throughout the state, so you may have already seen, on the television news or the newspaper or online, some results from these state exams. The short version of the news, at least coming from the New York State Education Department, is that the proficiency rates in English language arts increased by about 2 percentage points statewide, and the math rates increased by about 1 point statewide, with about 19% of the students statewide not taking the tests as their families opted them out of taking those tests. Now here in Lake Placid, our results are a little bit different. I'm just going to tell you what they are. Our English language arts proficiency rates increased by 6 points between last year and this year. Our math proficiency rates decreased by 7 percentage points. And our opt-out rate is maybe a little lower than the past year by about, we're at between 27 and 29% opting out of the exams.
Thank you.
So I want to show you, bless you, I want to show you the scores, just walk you down this a little bit. If you look at the top English language arts scores, overall, and that's pretty much how these get reported when you see them. Overall, the percentage of students in Lake Placid considered passing. I use the quotations there because that's just a choice that the state makes to count scores of 3 and 4 as passing. At 36% last year was 30, this year is 36%. In New York State, the average passing rate was 40. But that's overall. If you look grade by grade, you can see 2 pieces of information. One is something they call a standard score. If you know how tests are reported, these tests have created their own standard score range. And it's generally in the mid 200s to the mid 300s, although they do go lower and they do go higher. So ELA, English Language Arts, our grade 3 exams, our standard score was 299. That's just the average score. 38% of our 3rd graders who took the test received a 3 or a 4, so considered passing. In New York State, overall 3rd graders, 43% of 3rd graders passing with an average score of 308. So 4th grade, the standard score 303 with 26% passing. 5th grade, 285 with 14% passing. 6th grade, 296 with 27%. 7th grade, 315 with 49%. And in 8th grade, 308 average standard score with 57% of the students considered passing. And you can see how those compare to the New York State average passing scores. In mathematics, again, the structure of this is the same. Overall, 24% of our students were at the passing range. Last year, 31%. New York State average, 40%. Grade 3, 293, 27% passing. Grade 4, 303 with 37% passing. Grade 5, 291, 14% passing. Grade 6, 293 with 23% passing. Grade 7, 305 with 28% passing. In grade 8, 244 average with 0% passing. Just a reminder, and I know I remind everybody this every year, the reason why the 8th grade has a 0 there is because they don't count the students in the 8th grade who take the algebra regents exam. So, essentially students that you might consider to be advanced or accelerated are not a part of that equation. That was about a 1/3 of our class last year. So that's,
Sorry, in terms of opt-outs, was there any one grade that had more opt-outs?
the older had more.
The older had more. So grade 5,
Grade
5,
3
6,
had
7.
a small number.
Okay.
Grades
So
6
the older-
to 8 had the most.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and review those numbers just a little bit, but that was the general trend. Page 2, I just gave you longitudinal data so you can see how over time we've done in these exams. I won't go through those. You'll notice that the science exam scores are never included in this first rollout, and then there rarely is a big press release on the science scores. I think pretty much. Yeah. You've heard me report on state 3 through 8 exam scores again before, and just some things I'll remind you of. This is one set of information, and different people place more or less weight on it than others. We do have other information, of course, about our students, and in many ways, this information doesn't correlate very closely with a lot of the other information out there, especially for the high school students. And just as a reminder, not too long ago, I was able to show you how our students do on Regents exams compared to the state averages, and you might remember that in all or most cases, we exceed the state average, or at least meet it. And that's, of course, not the case here in the grades 3 through 8 exam. So, there are different reasons possibly for why that's the case. Nobody likes to have to explain low scores, right? And I don't like to explain low scores. So I think, we don't want to, overdo, explaining it away and, for other reasons. But I do want to provide you what some of those other reasons might be, at least for recognizing that that there's room to interpret these scores in different ways. You know, one of them is that these exams still represent a lot of anxiety and controversy statewide, and that's no surprise to any of you. Most people who are paying attention to the state reform agenda recognize that these exams were a central part of it all along, and that even though some of the accountability measures have been pulled off for, say, rating teachers according to these, at least temporarily, that controversy remains. And so I think that helps explain a lot of the opt-outs as well. The opt-outs, of course, you know, skew the results, and we don't always know exactly where. In terms of question by question, I didn't bring, we have long documents to share with you some of those questions, and I encourage you to look them up. They do a good job. I would say the New York State Education Department has done a good job of trying to make more and more information public. You can see most of the questions for each of these exams online with a click of your mouse. So feel free to take a look at some of those questions. We still do raise some concerns about the wording, the approach on some of these questions. One of the other issues I think it's just important to point out, and for better or worse, we really don't prep our students on these exams, at least you know, district-wide, school-wide, administration to teacher. We do not advocate for prepping for these exams. We believe that prepping should be minimal, just so that students are comfortable taking the exams, but we don't want to take time away from instruction, and we really don't want to take time away from other subject areas like science, social studies, and foreign language, and the arts in order to prep for a math or an ELA test. So that's not the case in other school districts. So when other schools, and I would say that the New York City charter schools probably did a pretty good job of this, build a lot of time in around prepping for the tests, they of course will do much better than we will when we don't prep for those. Other things to point out, I think I've already done, which is that we do seem to be doing pretty well on at our high school level scores, and so we have the same students who are taking these tests over time. And I think it would just be interesting to look a little closer at how student performance varies at the grade 3 through 8 level versus the grade 9 through 12 level. So, so that's it about the state exams. Any questions or comments about those scores? Okay. The next thing on my list was just to share with you some information on enrollment. I have a couple of pieces of information. One of them on the document that I've got for you is classroom counts as of a few days ago at the elementary school. This is what I was reading off some numbers to you earlier tonight. You can see we have 3 sections at every grade level in elementary, with class sizes ranging from a low of about 41 to a high of about 51, and that's where we are in the elementary school. Average class sizes are in the teens, some grade levels higher, some grade levels lower. That also is influenced by our overall enrollment numbers, and our enrollment numbers this year have shifted just slightly with transfer students. So we have had probably more movement than I can remember for a while at least, in terms of new students enrolling in the district and students transferring out. Overall, and this is not current because we had some changes today, not too many, but just a handful. Overall though, we were looking at 38 new students coming into the district since the end of last year, and 26 transferring out to a range of places and coming from a range of places, for a net change of about 12 more students than at the end of last year. So overall enrollment, because over the course of time last year, we did dip a little from the fall enrollment. Overall, we're probably looking at about the same enrollment levels we had last year, maybe a couple of students more. And I know enrollment is always a question. But just in terms of some really interesting backgrounds on some of our new students are coming from far and wide for a range of reasons. And we have students who are coming from across the country, a couple from overseas. Today, we had some new students enroll I noticed one from Tennessee, one from farther, and I can't quite remember where that was. We do have a sort of a diversity of student, where students are coming from in the country, and I think that's a good thing for our overall student body.
So the student from Dar es Salaam, is that an exchange student?
No, just a family, a new student. I haven't met that student yet.
Well, I wouldn't
But we
talk
do have
about that.
we do have one international student, and that's from Chile. We thought we had two. We had a student that we had accepted from Vietnam, and that student unfortunately was unable to finalize her visa, which is really a shame. We were looking forward to her. We had a great host family as well. So we have not been able to fill that spot. So we really have one international student for the time being.
And who's that student's name?
Joaquin is his first name. He's from Chile. You might have already seen him around. He's been on the soccer team. He's been out there for a few weeks. He's made some friends. He's met some people around here. He's one of 5 boys at home, and very excited about being in the United States.
And who's the host family?
The host family is the Bissonets.
Okay.
Okay, the next topic on my report is about teachers. So first of all, our current teachers were very active this summer working on curriculum. And so we were able to utilize some of our grant money, school improvement grant money, to encourage and incentivize teachers working together over the summer in some of our goal areas. So I provided for you a brief list of projects that were at least proposed, and many of them carried out. Sometimes they don't all get finished by the end of the summer, but many do. And I thought there were some interesting projects on there. A lot of interdisciplinary work. It's a wonderful time to do that because in the summertime it's really the only chance for teachers who are working with different subjects or different grade levels to really have some common time to work. But I thought some really nice creative ideas. Everything from the senior seminar curriculum that we've changed that from having one teacher work with our seniors to having 4 or 5 different teachers working with seniors, and integrating some new ideas, some new books, some new experiences into our senior seminar curriculum, to the development of a new school climate initiative amongst our middle school. And that's that LPCC, Connections for Change Launch Planning. We had a number of students and their advisors in the library last week, along with a facilitator, Tom Bowl from Peru, who has become a real terrific resource for us here in Lake Placid. And they have been putting together a new school climate initiative. It's going to launch with a assembly on Monday with the middle school kids. It's a program that was designed and developed by the kids themselves, and so they really bought into it, and they're very excited about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. Anyway, I provided you that list just so you have an idea about some of the things that our teachers have been doing this summer. Any questions about that list?
Not about that list, but does Laura Coffin have any idea about how used her small library, her little libraries were that she put around town?
Well, they're being established kind of gradually. So some are out there, and I believe, and I did talk with her about this, that some have been put into place.
Okay.
So yeah. In terms of teachers, we are welcoming a number of new teachers to Lake Placid. I mentioned their names. Greg Fisher, a 4th grade teacher, who studies along with some senior classes. I will say that hiring new teachers, I think we were fortunate to get high quality new teachers, and I think that we continue to really stand above other districts in this region when it comes to getting high quality applicants, and I do tune into that. However, overall, hiring new teachers is becoming more difficult as a number of changes are continuing to happen regionally, statewide, and even nationally. Overall, there are 21,000 fewer teachers and administrators in the system in New York than there were 7 years ago. So there's been a 7% drop in positions themselves. 32% of working teachers are 50 and older, and they are nearing retirement soon. So we're looking at 32% of our faculty positions, potentially becoming vacant. The problem is that there are not enough students in the teacher preparation pipeline to replace them. The number of students in the SUNY teaching programs, for example, fell in half between 2007 and 2016, from 20,000, a little over 20,000 to 10,000. And that, I believe, is pretty consistent in the private schools as well. Chancellor Zimfer, that's SUNY Chancellor Zimfer, predicted that New York may need 180,000 new teachers in the next decade. And the United States Department of Education has estimated that 1.6 million new teachers will be needed nationally by 2022, 5 years from now. So, the good news is that we're fortunate to still have good and talented people who want to teach in Lake Placid. But I also think that we need to continue to encourage good people, high school students, college students, to pursue a career in teaching, and also career changers to potentially consider a career in teaching. It's the kind of career for anyone who wants to make a positive difference in the lives of children and the world around them. The opportunity, which really was almost closed to them not too long ago, 7, 8 years ago, is now so wide open that we're looking at shortages around the state and around the country. So there we are.
And it's pretty widespread. It's not like one area, like math and science is short.
Math and science does have shortages,
Yeah.
especially particular science areas. Special education is right now a great shortage in special education. But even in the region, we're teachers are being hired without certification in some of these areas because there just simply aren't licensed teachers to fill the spots.
I would think some of the TAs that we've hired that are new they should be encouraged to go in that direction.
Well, I think we do a pretty good job of trying to nurture good people who are interested and I think really kind of discover the rewards of working with kids. I think we're pretty good about nurturing them into pursuing more in this career. So we'll see where it goes. We do have some good new TAs who are good candidates to get into teaching. Some are already in graduate school for that. And, others could be, or should be, or might be. So. Last thing, just want to talk about the first week of school. So today was a big day. This was the day our teachers and staff, especially our 10-month people, returned after the summer. Mary had some very inspiring words of welcome. Thank you for that. And we also heard from Cora Clark, who represents the CSEA, Brittany Gotham, who represents the LPEA, and for me, we had a guest from the United Way. And tomorrow there'll be more school meetings and department meetings. So the staff is back and ready to roll. The athletes are back. So it's been, I think we're in our 3rd week of practice, and this week we also have a number of contests. In fact, today there were a number of contests. Any get canceled for the weather? I'm not sure. I didn't follow up
I
with
didn't
that.
see any email
Yeah.
come through.
But so this week we do have a number of cross country, volleyball, and soccer games in case you're interested in getting out there and watching some of our kids play. Wednesday, that's tomorrow, the elementary school will be hosting some big events, right? So this is a little bit of a shift. Usually we do this on the first day back. They decided to do it on the second day back this year. So kindergarten open house at noon, new student tours. Then I think that's 4 to 5, and then an open house for grades 1 through 5 because kindergarten already had theirs from 5 to 6, and then the K-5 picnic from 6 to 7. So a lot of kids and families will be at the elementary school tomorrow throughout the day. Open house for the middle and high school is coming up next week, Thursday, September 14th from 6 to 7:30. And then that's tomorrow. And then Thursday is the first day of school. So, every school will be jump starting the year with an opening assembly. I mentioned before the middle school's Connections for Change group. They'll be kicking off their inaugural assembly on Monday. And following that, there'll be a number of field trips and bonding activities. These are just around the corner. 5th grade is participating in its own bonding activity this year, but we also have 6th grade going to their overnight at Poco McCready. We also have the 7th and 8th grade organizing bonding field trips in the first week or weeks of school. So there's a lot going on. It all starts soon, and we're looking forward to an exciting year. That's everything I have. Any questions or comments for me?
Just a comment. There's a new website out there for Section 7, all sports, all schools. So I can forward it around if you guys are interested, and then you can see where, home games are or so forth. So,
Yeah.
It also
And
keeps
that's
up
all
with
of-
changes, which is really good.
and it's all of Section 7, so it's everybody we compete with.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good,
great.
thank you. Thanks. We'll move on. Information for the board, there were 2 items. One is the memo clarifying the cost of Lake Placid's share in the capital project. Anybody have questions about that? And then the claims auditor report. And there's no questions. Let's move into our discussion, which is the board goals and objectives. We started on those at the last meeting. I'm trying to get mine up here. Okay. I think this looks different than what I saw before, but I think this is the right one. I don't have the comments at the side.
Did you comment? I never saw comments.
I did not. I was having a hard time figuring out where the comments were, which ones they were for, but
Just have to-
I don't think I have, this isn't the right one. I'm sorry, the one I have up is last year's.
I didn't upload the new one. It's in the Google Doc.
That's where I'm trying, I have 2016, 17, they were there last
Yeah,
night.
let me, the notes either.
Are you
This is
in,
right off the
are you
board
in
now.
your email or the Google Doc?
I'm in Google Docs.
If you
But
go
I
to the
just
search bar, then you can just put in
Yeah.
board
I just opened it.
objectives, and it should pull up the option for the other one for you.
Yeah, it's the same one. So there is, what Board Docs has posted, Board Goals and Objectives draft doc. That's the same as this, only it's not the Google Doc.
Right.
But it is the same.
And you don't see the comments.
but the comments are not there, because it's on a Word doc instead of a Google doc. So it's not shared.
Right.
Yeah, but it is.
But
I
was
think
it-
you
The ones
took
that come
one,
up,
Rand.
the ones that are coming up tonight are last year's.
Want paper version?
I'll go back to this.
Was it
Exactly
shared
what
with your, did you create the new Gmail or you didn't? I don't know that. I didn't, because it couldn't deal with other emails.
That's right. Yeah, I got it. I'm sorry. I got shut down.
Did you get yours?
Yeah, I'm switching Google accounts. So.
Okay.
And since some people can't pull it up on Google Doc, does it make sense to use the one that's on Word Docs?
It's just a hard copy. Yeah, I must have
Well, you
taken
don't
and
get
cut
the,
and
you don't
pasted,
have the
but,
comments that are on. Google
right, but the
Docs.
comments show up here.
Yeah, they show up
Okay,
here too.
all right,
In
so
the-
let's just go through and,
Okay.
you know, if we need to add, we can add. I've got it from Board Docs, but, so the first one, the first, students first and foremost. We had continued to support the development of programs and initiatives that expand a global awareness, including experiences that increase international and cultural understanding, tolerance, and acceptance. Point of foreign student program coordinator, we're going to do that one right away here now if we approve the contract. Encourage presentation and assemblies that expose students to different cultures and experiences. Request one board presentation. So that goes with that request one board
Right.
presentation each semester goes with the one before that.
Yep.
Support and review the special education / PPS program and infrastructure to best meet the needs of students and families.
I don't
Remind me
understand that
what the PPS program, this was from you, what's PPS stand for?